everyone. Hello, future leaders. This is Team One. My name is Navia,
My name is Jerry.
I'm Fran.
I'm Odyssey.
and this is our presentation on high performance teams. So, first, we're going to cover the what, or what the leaders of high performance teams should do. Now, the first thing the leaders should do is build the correct foundation. Step one is to define a clear purpose for the team. They should translate the goals they have for the team into specific measurable outcomes that the team can keep track of and continue to record. They should clarify the roles and responsibilities for each member in the team to avoid any ambiguity, confusion, or uneven workloads when it comes to responsibilities. They should establish team norms such as the communication style, accessible behavior, and expectations for accountability. Leaders should build psychological safety so that all members feel comfortable and encouraged to participate in the team and any discussions that might take place. They should also attempt to align the individual motivations of all the team members with the team's overall goals as a way to motivate everyone in the team. The leader should construct the team structure and create the conditions around the team to allow for trust, clarity, and unity within the team. When building a strong team, leaders should actively develop trust and cohesion through consistency and transparency in their own actions. They should encourage open communication and active listening across the whole team, and this means participating in those things as well. They should apply the available diversity of skills, backgrounds, and perspectives to improve decision quality by making sure that everyone gets a say and everyone has something to input. They should facilitate team building activities and promote collaboration. They should also recognize both team achievements and individual contributions to make sure everyone feels appreciated and that no one is overlooked. They should support inclusion and equitable participation, making sure that everyone is given the opportunity to be heard and that everyone has the opportunity to listen to everyone else as well. Finally, they should encourage team members to rely on each other's strengths and bolster each other's weaknesses because that's what a team does best. High-performing teams have to be built intentionally. They don't just come about on their own. They have to put effort into building relationships, trust, and supporting inclusion. When managing team processes, team leaders should establish clear decision-making processes and define the communication structures through those processes are made. They should use structured problem-solving methods and encourage productive disagreement and conflict while minimizing personal and or emotional conflict. As sometimes debating within a team can establish new ideas and help them grow. They should also monitor group dynamics to prevent and resolve common issues such as groupthink, social loafing, and breakdowns of communication. They should assign mechanisms for accountability that can be applied to the whole team so that no one is singled out. They should also continuously evaluate and refine the workflows of the team and see what can be improved and what's already working. The performance of the team depends on how well the team members work together, and it's up to the leader to create a structured environment where the best possible efficiency and collaboration is reached. Now, while leading a high-performance team, leaders should track both performance outcomes, such as results, and what processes the team took to get there. This way, they can look back and figure out what needs to be changed and what worked so they can continue doing it. They should provide regular and constructive feedback to the other members, but they should also ask the same back from their members. They should ask the team to reflect and figure out what's working and what needs to be changed. And oftentimes this also means communicating with each other and having group discussions. They should adapt their leadership style based on what the team needs to fit the situation. They should encourage learning and development and build a culture that supports continuous improvement and accountability, which means learning from mistakes, not just putting them down. They should respond effectively to change, uncertainty, and external pressures to make sure that the team is supported and can survive any outside conflict. And they should reinforce and demonstrate team values and norms consistently by showing them how to act themselves. Leaders must act as examples and facilitators of performance growth and adaptability because they are what the team looks to.
The why should teams and leaders act in the way we just talked about? So why does effective leadership matters in a team? So a lot of people might think that teams are based on the ability of the members, their talents, their skills within the team. and team success or failure often were related into these topics when in discussion. The truth is, teams do not fail just because of lack of talent or skills. Teams fail because of poor leadership and coordination. Talking about what is poor leadership, that is when a leader does not demonstrate what is the goal of the team. He doesn't help how the team cooperates, how the team work together, how they communicate. That's poor leadership. When a leader micromanage and leave no trust to the team, that's poor leadership. Leaders are not the king of the team. They're the compass, they're the guides, they're the map of the team. They create the way, the path, and they create clarity, alignments, and directions. They lead the team, they guide the team, they don't rule the team. That's the difference. Strong leadership directly impacts performance and outcomes, which is when a leader is confident in his team, he trusts his teammates, he creates clear goals, concepts, and the norms for the team. That improves the performance, and improving of performance and efficiency, that improves the outcomes. And what happens when that's gone? What happens when a leadership are not effective, right? Unclear goals leads to duplicate works and missed targets. When a team assignments on work tasks are not clear, when two persons in a team doesn't know what they're supposed to do, they often work on a similar task and eventually they found out their work were duplicate and the team have to pick on one that's better, but we have to waste and throw out the other one, which is the waste of time and efficiency. And poor communication inside the team creates confusion and conflicts. When the team communication are not clear, the team doesn't have enough trust in each other. When they often take arguments into personal matters, that creates negative conflicts in the team. The conflicts are no longer for pursuit of the better outcome and the success of the team. It becomes personal attacking and eventually leads to failure of the team. And we just talked about trust. Lack of trust results in low participation and disengagement. That is because when teammates and leaders don't trust each other, they often go into micromanage, and eventually the minority of the team that believes they have the ability to do stuff eventually take over all the works and doesn't allow the teammates they do not trust to engage, which decreases the efficiency. When we have 10 people in the team, but we only let 2 do the work, why do we have the other 8 in the team? What if we can let all 10 works in the team? That will improve our efficiency and the performance a lot greater, because if the team can work together with good alignment and good communication, 10 people usually works better than 2, as most people know. And weak structure causes inefficiency and inconsistent results. That is when a team leader doesn't create a good structure, norms, that causes the team cannot function as well, which follows all the other 7 topics I have just talked about, which results in efficiency and inconsistent and failures of the team. Next, we're going to give it to the how.
Now we're going to talk about the how. So you're going to want to start by setting a foundation. Identify the right individuals. In these individuals, you're going to want to look for competency, team-first attitudes, and alignment with collective vision. Personable qualities are also expected and generally accepted. Next, you're going to want to make deliberate decisions. Prioritize long-term health and alignment with your choices as a leader and as a team. Encourage constructive conflict. Foster early discussions to normalize productive disagreements. Then, focus on the forming and norming phases. Use communication and trust as your guiding principles during these stages. Then establish the model of long-term expectations by avoiding interruptions, sharing information clearly, steering clear of value judgments, and making an effort to understand everyone's message within the team. Now, the two parts you're going to want to really enforce are trust and communication. For trust, you're going to want to model your behavior as a leader. Admit mistakes, be honest. Reinforce your team member agency and take feedback in from all sources. Talk to members about progress towards individual goals, get a sense of their strengths, their weaknesses, where they can best apply their skills. Clearly establish norms, expectations, rules, time limits, everything that really enforces trust. Prevent hasty decision making by probing individuals' thoughts. For communication, you're going to want to see how your message is received in discussions. And normally this can be done through consensus, pros and cons, reports, debate, all sorts of methods of communication with your team. Equal participation is expected and should not have dominating common communicators. Paying attention to verbal cues and body language is also incredibly important. Encourage open dialogue and productive conflict within team members. Engage with feedback and adapt your communication style to each member. For sustaining this performance, you're going to want to address the issues early. Use direct forms of communication. Focus on ideas and performance over individuals' characteristics. Evaluate your team's norms and team goals periodically. Maintain accountability and hold standards of accountability for yourself and team members. Periodically return to ideas and norms. Adjust expectations when things change before and after that change. And revisit conflict and encourage the open discussion to strengthen relationships.
Now we're going to talk about a case with a high-performing team. A high-performing team example is Pixar's story. Everyone knows the whole movie franchise. It's coming up with the 5th movie soon. So their challenge was to create the first feature computer animated film, and they did that through multiple steps and processes. So one of them was the feedback loops, where they held meetings where everyone would show their unfinished ugly work every single day. So instead of, hey, have a project completed in a month, it was every single day they would see the process, and it wasn't like, oh, it's still ugly. They wanted ugly. They wanted to see that process and that evaluation. They also had a shared mental model where the story was the king, and they also had cohesion decisions where everyone was teaming up together to make that exact decision and team up. The conflict was a catalyst. They viewed polite agreement as a threat to quality, so if there was, okay, yes, 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 they wanted some back and forth and discussion between them. They also had a plussing rule, where it wasn't like, oh, hey, Timmy, hey, Johnny, that's not good, move on. It was, hey, I don't agree with that, but let's make it better. They came up with examples on how to create it better, and like let's throw a hat on that person, for example. They also had productive friction. For example, if a team, there is no conflict, that's a conflict. There always needs to be small conflict, whether that's small, large. Large is not good, but small is better. They also held meetings called brain trust. Success did not come from having the best technology, but through specific leadership culture. Creative leaders would meet to watch early versions of a movie and give candor-filled feedback. Leaders would listen to every critique and synthesize them into better stories. Through this meeting, they also removed hierarchy where the lower internship, entry level, or the high senior was equal. As you can see, brain trust is in the upper first quadrant, so it matches both worlds perfectly. Topics discussed, so for example, it was speak last was a big idea that they had throughout the whole meeting, where the director, which was the key leader, would listen to everyone else's critiques for hours before offering his own perspective. So that person at the lower tier always had something to say, and they felt valued. They also maintained norms under pressure. During production, Toy Story actually almost fell apart because they thought the script was becoming too cynical. And even though Disney kept on heckling at them, continue, they actually went back to the norming stage, which is honestly very key, and that's how we got Toy Story what it is today. They also had a trust agency balance where initially leaders were very protective, almost secretive of the project, and they realized to achieve high performance, they had to give the animators autonomy, and they moved from prescriptive notes to more descriptive notes.
And that's all for our presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For your watching.